Xigmatek Dark Knight Nighthawk Edition. The exact model number is SD1283. Now, this is a large unit. It's not the biggest unit I've ever seen, but it is large, and it's got some interesting things going on, like ceramic coating all over the aluminum alloy fins. It also has HDT, y'all. That's heat pipe direct touch technology. The copper pipes that are on this thing, they make direct contact with the CPU, and they are also coated in ceramic except for the bottom where there's copper. If you really want to get the best use out of this, you're going to want to lap the copper on the bottom just to make sure it's not oxidizing or anything like that. But the copper is still going to be much better than just aluminum for the bottom. It'll help you dissipate that heat. Now let's talk about the stealth technology. That's their low heat signature ceramic coating. And what they're saying is that it allows you to more efficiently dissipate the heat. And it also stays pretty cool to the touch. I noticed while it was turned on, I'm an idiot, I always put my hands on things while they're on, like, hey, let's see. But you could put your hands on it and it didn't feel that warm at all. So it was dissipating the heat, but it wasn't retaining the heat. And that's a nice thing. That'll allow you to dissipate heat more quickly. First off, let's go through the specs on this unit. The dimensions are in millimeters, 120 by 120 by 25. Now the fan speed is 1,000 to 2,200 RPM. And one thing I want to note about the fan is there's a really cool LED thing that's going on. I usually don't like LEDs, but this one looks pretty cool. There's like a pattern. And so when you have it turned on and spinning, you can see there the pattern's pretty interesting. Airflow is 89.45 cubic feet per minute. Life expectancy is 50,000 hours, and the noise level is 30.1 decibels. And the weight of the heatsink only, the thermal mass, is 406 grams. We test the temperature with this thing. I actually hang it right in front of the fan, about 3 or 4 inches in front of the fan, just so we can test the temperature that's going into the heatsink. So we used this thing, made sure that it was exactly 70 degrees. We're in a climate-controlled room. And yeah, did all our benchmarks, made sure everything was even all the way across. Now the Dark Knight is a more expensive cooling unit than on some of the other Xigmatek units, so if you're going this way, you probably want to use some fancy thermal paste, and that's how I tested it. We used Tonique thermal paste. We did not use the stock thermal paste, even though it looks different than the thermal paste that comes with the Gaia and some of the other Xigmatek units. It's more of a silver color instead of the white color, so it might be a bit better, but even then, we tested it with the good stuff, the Tonique. We tested this with an Intel i5-3570K, and we tested it at the stock clock, and then we ramped up the heat by overclocking it to 4.5 gigahertz, and we tested it at that to see how it dissipates the extra heat. We did these tests with one fan and with a second fan. So here are the results. The Dark Knight, one fan, just idling in windows, 27 degrees Celsius. At full load, 49 degrees Celsius. And the H100 we have 30 degrees in windows, and then with full load, 47 degrees Celsius. So at the stock, it's like almost the same performance as the H100. With the overclock, in Windows is still 27 degrees, and the H100 is 30 degrees. So I guess the H100's fans weren't ramping up that much, didn't really need to. And we're running the H100 on the full performance mode as well. All right, overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz. The Dark Knight with one fan was 61 degrees Celsius after 5 or 6 minutes at full load. And the H100 was 62 degrees. So very impressed there. All right, let's talk about dual fans, because that's where you really get the performance. It does add a little bit of noise, but not that much. Now with two fans idling in Windows at the stock clock, 25 degrees Celsius. At full load, 48 degrees Celsius. With the overclock, still idles at 25 degrees. And at full load, after 5 or 6 minutes, 58 degrees Celsius. So you can see here, versus the H100, this is actually running a little bit cooler. And that's going to make a lot of people angry, and they're probably going to, contest my results and yell and scream and that sort of thing. One thing I did do to make the H100 a little more efficient was I did take the unit and lap it. It means I used some lapping paper and sanded the bottom of the unit. And I'm not going to get into those results in this benchmark, but that did make it perform better than the Dark Knight. But I did have to lap it to get it to perform better than the Dark Knight. Out of the box, the way most people are going to be using it, the Dark Knight did perform better. So for less money, I'm going to be using this one. In fact, my H100 just kind of exploded the other day. These things, we don't have the H100i, or the H110. The radiator, it's terrible. So this one's going to be the one I'm going to be using on all my test benches from now on, or until I get, some ridiculous water cooling kit. But this is going to go on the test bench, and we're going to be using this thing because it's decent performance. So I don't really have much negative to say about it. The build quality was top-notch. The fins felt, I guess they didn't feel as good as some units, but it's still going to last several years. I like the rubber that you're going to be using to mount these with. That makes me happy. It's, you know, low noise and reduces vibrations. So trying to think of something I do not like about this. I don't know, if you don't like LEDs, then there's that. You got a fluid bearing fan, that's decent. It's just a decent unit for a really decent price.